Ladies and gentlemen, round 9 of the console Tier 2 season is upon us. We're here for the Austrian Grand Prix. And, well, it's going to be a very exciting one. If the Thursday tiers, if console Tier 2, Tier 3 and Tier 4 are to be a judge. But tonight we're here with the Tier 2 drivers. They're slightly higher level. Quite a few of these will have come through Tier 3 and Tier 4 in previous times. But this time around, they are here in Tier 2. They are in the second highest tier that you can get to on console. And, well, the first laps have already been put in with Lifebout 103.174. That is an incredible lap to get us off with. And speaking of incredible, my name is Cockcass. I've got an incredibly, well, my voice is going, more to put it very gently. But alongside me tonight, I have Jamie, aka Callisto. Good evening, Jamie. How excited are we to get going here around Austria?
Hello, mate. I'm very excited to be back here again in Tier 2, second week running for us too. I think it is safe to say I have a much better voice than you this evening. But yeah, I'm very excited to see this qualifying session and race session play out, considering what we saw in Tier 3 and Tier 4. Championship still hangs in the balance, but can be won tonight, is what I'm looking at, and it's very exciting. And it's a lot of luck needed for the man chasing.
Yeah, and I mean, Max van der Geest, the man on top, has had a seriously impressive season so far, and he expects to top it off this evening, you would imagine, after such an insane season. I mean, second, third, first, second, and then fifth last time out in Canada. That is his record. A man like is 40 points behind the only man still in contention for it. Bear in mind, last season, he was in console Tier 4, and he had a couple of auditions, successful auditions, to get into Tier 2. And look where we are now. Man like is not actually, it looks as though he's not actually racing tonight. So if he doesn't turn up in the next few minutes, we could crown a champion even before the race.
Oh, that's it would be a unfortunate way to end a championship, but we've got 2 races left, and it's not going to be oh, everyone's going to sail around on easy mode. No, these guys want to win. They want to make the impression ahead of season 20. So we're going to have at least for round 9 and 10, when we're in Brazil next week as well, we'll be absolutely on it. 100% pace from every single person, and a little bit of fun, and a bit more excitement and all of the above, basically, you can imagine, from the top drivers in console.
Yeah, they're not going to take it easy. They will never take it easy in the console tiers. The racecraft here is something to be admired. And last night, me and the man on your screens right now, Niall Gear, were taking you through the Tier 4 action. In Tier 4, there was just a lot of chaos. 3 wides constantly heading into turn 3, and moves being made up and down. Mostly, though, they split off into their packs. Hopefully we don't see that tonight. Hopefully they're able to stay in a DRS train for as long as they can, with a lot of drivers in contention up there. Gio's teammate Lifebout is on pole position. He's on another lap looking to improve. Gio is looking to get his first lap on the board, and he's around the final corner with a 1:03.376. Doubting his pace so far this weekend, but he's managed to slot his way into third place, into the podium position. The Lifebout, by the way, having an awful final corner, and George Ansel full locking to go into the pits. Looking down the order now, Otsku will come out of the final corner. What can he do as he comes up to the line? He's improved, but he's only up to 4th place. Lawrence will be the next one to come across the line. I think there might be a Red Bull of Minotaur maybe crossing the line, whoever it was. It was Finley who goes up to 3rd, and Lawrence goes into 5th. There is actually only 6 thousandths of a second between Finley and Niall and Lawrence. So, I mean, they're close together already.
Yeah, but that's to be expected at this point. We've seen this countless times, whether you've been watching it with us last week or whether you've been watching it with some other commentators throughout the time in Tier 2 this season. These drivers are ridiculously close. You can barely fit a piece of paper between these drivers. That's how close these drivers run in terms of pace. But they're just so so quick as well. And around a track like this, you'll be hard pressed to find drivers. Um, they will have to maximise. You'll be hard pressed to find them being a couple tenths out of each other by the end of the session. Once everyone has certainly warmed up, we're almost into the 1 minute twos, and I believe by the time by the time that clock strikes 0, we will be into those 1 minute twos with someone on the upper echelon putting in an absolute flyer. A couple of drivers still yet to put a lap in. AGK being a driver who's just started his lap, XPG Flame on an out lap, and our championship leader, Max van der Geest, is still in the pit lane. I don't know if there's anyone currently on a lap outside of AGK, so I'm just going to stick on board with him for now. He's going down towards turn 4. See whether he can find his way into that top end of the field. Decent turn 4, but did have a bit of locking up. You do not want to risk a flat spot in these tyres. Even though it's a very short lap, you just need to make sure you get a very good run in. And if you can get a second run of tyres, that will save you a set for the race if there's a late safety car and you can put on a fresh set of rubber. And AGK unfortunately becomes a victim of the solid white line and is invalidated. He would have done a 3.2, which would have put him P2, but he will have to go again and put another time on the board.
Yeah, Adrian coming into the chat saying, when we say console, does that mean controller only? No, it doesn't. It's just the drivers who opt to use the PlayStation and the Xbox to plug in their wheels mostly. I think we do have a couple of pad drivers. I know that Mobarak in World is a pad driver and a very, very successful one. Much more successful than myself. I'm not sure about all of these drivers as XPG Flame goes for a massive slide. He's on wheel, but quite a few of them you can actually tell whether they're on wheel just by their controller inputs or their inputs on the steering wheel. If it looks a bit more janky, if it looks a bit less smooth, then you can tell that they are on a controller. Yasasaki is improving, and he's having a lot of wobbles on that steering wheel. You can almost guarantee that he is on the wheel, looking a bit like Lance Stroll at the moment with 2 more corners to go. What is he going to be able to do? At the moment, he is just ahead of his teammate Typical with a 103.5. Yasasaki up to the line, 103.4 just about, and he becomes the 4th driver into the 0.4s and one of 8 drivers in the 0.3s or 0.4s. We said they were going to be close. This is just an example. And by the way, Manlike has tick noted the attendance. So congratulations to Max van der Geest. You are the champion, and I think he might be, because of the fact that he's not come out, you might be trying a last to first.
Yeah, I believe that if you've won the championship, you might as well have a little bit of fun. An absolute, in my opinion, very, very good season. One of the best you'll probably see for a long while in terms of consistency. 4 second places, 3 of them being in the opening 3 rounds. 2 wins, a 3rd, and a lowest place finish of 5th place last time out in Canada. But can he take a 3rd win tonight? This time, if he does it and decide to do a last to first, can he do it from that far back in the grid? We don't know. It's all still to play for. The race win is a important one, and everyone is trying to prove themselves to either remain in this tier or go up to tier 1 for next season. These drivers though, so closely matched on pace. Any of them could even end up going to tier 1, and that would be completely fine because they would be still very close in terms of pace. This top echelon of the WOR category league is just so ridiculously close that some of these drivers are like you can't even split them. They're so quick, and it's all down to consistency, racecraft, which really makes the difference here.
Exactly. And I mean, Lawrence demonstrating how close this field is because he goes 2 thousandths ahead of Lawrence, ahead of Lifebat. He is Lawrence, but he goes 2 thousandths ahead of Lifebat at the top. Alpha Kevin comes in. Quite a few of the drivers messing up the final sectors on their second runs. I think they're just trying to avoid invalidation. At the moment, only Flame and AGK are yet to set laps. Flame has just started one, and AGK. Has he just started one or has he just finished one? I'm not 100% sure. We will see, but AGK he's invalidated once again. He's set 103.2s both times. He's set times good enough for 3rd both times. but he's just having to sit down there. Those life bouts goes even quicker. He topples Lawrence off the top of the standings, and the McLaren will move up to P1. By the way, if you missed all of the action yesterday, especially the Tier 4 action, to do my best Niall Geo impression, I mean, coming from the back, it's definitely possible. I mean, I've been there before, where I've been at the back, and I've come forward, and I ended up taking P3 in the race. So it's definitely possible. You're not out of it yet. There is a massive deficit that you will have to the rest of the field, but if you're able to overcome that, then you will be absolutely fine. And I hope Niall's watching, because I'm
going to get him to rewatch that. That was amazing. Jesus Christ. I thought for a second I was in a call with Niall then for a second. That was so mental. Oh, that's an amazing impression. Fair play. Honestly, bang on. That shows how much time you two have been in that commentary box, especially when you're talking about tire smoke at Singapore. That was that was a great one. So anyway, back to the action. XPG currently invalidated. Most of the drivers are in the pit lane. Yasir Saki currently on a flyer. He has 400s down heading out on the exit of Sector 1. Does he improve? No, he's 3 temps down, and his car just does not look planted at any way, shape or form. He might need to come in and get a new set of softs. He's got time to go for one more run. If he comes in, he has a massive slapper on the entry there. You do not want to be doing that too often, as the Ferrari gets very luckily gets away with that one. Most drivers, though, are in the pits or they're on their outlaps now. We're going to go for one final run. We've got 2 minutes 50 left in the session. Track limits will play a factor. We saw it in Tier 3 and 4 last night. I sure got gas. You had a lot of drivers get caught out of track limits, even though these drivers are a bit of a higher tier, a bit of a higher pace, and a bit of higher consistency, I'd hope. They will certainly have massive... they'll certainly try and push the boundaries just a little bit too much and cross over that white line. Typical will be our first driver to come across the line and start a flying lap.
Yeah, indeed he will. And I think, actually, to be honest, my favourite part of that was the fact that we said exactly the same thing straight afterwards. So I think I spent too long in the comms box with both of you. Typical, I think he's going for a double lap run, which means that he's saving on this one, and it means that he will go for the next one. The reason I think this is because he is 1.1 seconds off the pace. So we will see. Niall Gia, who said that he's going to qualify P17, he made that prediction earlier on. He's currently sitting in 6th place, and he's also doing the same thing as Typical. I think quite a few of them will do because of how close this field is. So they're just trying to get rid of all of that fuel that they are forced to put on. They're forced to put on 2.7 laps at a minimum. And so they're just going to try and burn it off in the first 2 laps. They're going to do 1 lap where they're just on their out lap, they're warming up. That is this lap for Geo, for Typical, and for a few of those drivers, most of those drivers, in fact, where they're going to try and burn off maybe 0.7 of a lap. And then they've got the first out lap where they try and burn 1. So they have exactly 1 lap left of fuel. It's a risky strategy, but one that can pay off if you're in a grid this close. And we will see now drivers going on their proper laps with just over 1 minute left on the clock. Max van der Geest is going to try last to first. He will start, the only driver on the final row of the grid in P17. Typical has improved by half a tenth in the first sector. And now he's got 2 sectors to go to try to demonstrate his pace. At the moment, he's sitting with a 103.5 and a high 103.5. So really not the lap time he would have wanted. And it was the 3rd slowest so far. He's left the session. So we're going to cut to Jordan DHL. George Ansel has gone to the top of the standings, 103.0. So he could be touching the 102s. It's not going to be Jordan DHL who does that. He moves up into P12. I'm going to turn my attention to AGK, who has now started his run. So I will turn my attention elsewhere. I'll turn my attention to Otsku, who is improving by half a tenth. Or actually, he's down his time by half a tenth in the first couple of corners. Simbarox retires. He has the slowest timed lap so far. Otsku pulls over on the line as the checkered flag is waved. I think he was desperate not to get forced to do another lap. Niall Gia around the final corner now. He's in 6th place. Can he improve? He indeed won't. He will just stay 1 thousandths ahead of Finley in 7th, who's had a massive slide in the final couple of corners. Minotaur, his teammate, will be looking to improve ahead of him. He's 6 tenths behind as it stands. And what can he do? He can invalidate out of the final corner. That's what he's going to do. Chris RBL, he's improving. No, he's not. He's just sent it into a wall. AGK is going to come to the line. 103.354. And that is enough for 4th place. Lifebout is the last driver on a time lap. He's 1/10 down, so I don't think he's going to be improving. And that is going to be your grid, ladies and gentlemen. It's in console tier 2. Race 9 of season 19.
Yeah, that was an excellent lap from George Ansel. He was so close to 1 minute 2, like I was kind of hoping for, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. He's got the pole position. I'd just also like to mention that Yassir also was on, had binned it on that flying lap at the same time the Alpine did. So unfortunately for him, he just did not get any sort of improvement. Most drivers all invalidating their laps. So they ended up just not really getting that final run in there. They were all pushing to go over the limit. So most drivers last time was actually their run in the middle of the session, which the ultimate pace was not quite there in terms of track evolution. But George Ansel made the got the lap in, and he got pole position 400ths over Lifebout. It is half a second covering the top 14 of the grid. That is ridiculously close.
It certainly is ridiculously close, and this is only on their 1 lap pace. Imagine what it's going to be like in the race. But George Ansel will take that pole position into that one, and it could be very close. Don't forget as well, the championship leader, now the champion, Max van der Geest, is sitting in last place in these standings. So it could be anyone's game as we head into the race. Just in the meantime now, here's a word from our sponsors. Race day, ladies and gentlemen, is upon us around the Red Bull Ring here in Austria for your console Tier 2 race. And, well, we've got, from the sounds of things, a mix of strategies. We might have some hards, we might have some mediums. You could even have some softs sprinkled in there as well if there is a safety car. Or, you never know, it could be wet right at the end of this race. It doesn't look as though it's going to be. It looks pretty blue skies up at the top, but there could be some clouds looming later on. We know how quickly the weather can change in this game. And we know how quickly a race can change in this game. So, for example, Max van der Geest, he's right down at the bottom of the standings. He could fight his way up, and he could actually end up winning this race. And with his record this season, I ultimately wouldn't be too surprised if he did exactly that. So we'll just have to wait and see. George Ansel will be a difficult one to get past if you're Max van der Geest. I mean, he is on pole position alongside Lifebout, just under half a tenth ahead. So, I mean, this is the point of the race where we talk about predictions, Callisto.
Well, I mean, it's going to be a. I'm going to say Max van der Geest won't get the win, but I think he'll end up very much in the top 5, if not on the podium. George Ansel's pace and Lifeboat seem very close to each other, but I believe Lifeboat, on the end of the race, he seems to be very decent. Lawrence again seems to be very decent in the race. Oxco, I probably believe, will begin to drop down though, because he's not really. He's more of a qualifier. He doesn't always have the race pace compared to the other drivers, as we've seen in previous seasons. So but we'll probably see other drivers come through the field. Some drivers who have got a lot more race pace. But Lifeboat, George Ansel, Lawrence, and AGK will certainly remain up there in them top 4. While everyone has now switched to the hard compound of tyres.
So there we go. A strategy has been decided for the field. It's going to be the hards. And later on in the race, it will most likely be those mediums. But we're going to head to the 5 red lights for the Austrian Grand Prix. Lights, camera, action. We're away in Austria. George Ansel gets off to a good start. Lifeboat's going to be swarmed into turn 1 by the other Williams. Not if he cuts him off like that, though. He braked nice and early. But George Ansel has been able to build a gap right up at the top of this one. Lifeboat sticking in P2. It's side by side between Kevin's and Alpha Kevin. Oh no, it's Otsku who's side by side now as they head into turn number 3. He said he didn't know where his braking point was. You can tell as now he's ghosted. There goes Yasa Saki, who's also had issues with his braking point, into turn number 3. But George Ansel has taken the lead in this one.
Yeah, good start from George Ansel. He really just needed to get a decent start there, and he's managed to swoop around the outside of Lifeboat, who wasn't really able to do anything on that inside anyway. Yasisaki now and Chris at RBL going side by side for P12, and now that's turned to a side by side battle between the two Ferraris. Yasisaki managing to defend from his teammate of Typical. I did see Max van der Geest, who's now moved up to P16, have dropped back at the start just to probably give himself a bit of room to ensure he gets no damage. But by the end of lap 1, George Ansel leads the way over Lifeboat, but is very closely followed by the rest of the field as we go through turn 1. DRS will now be enabled for the McLaren as he goes up the hill towards turn 3, slight kink of turn 2, not even a corner in many cars, especially in an F1 car around the outside. He will go into turn 3. Lifeboat takes the lead away from the Williams pole sitter.
He does indeed, and he's the first and most likely to challenge with George Ansel for the race victory today. Kevin's making his way past AGK. A lot of TF10 drivers in this field. That is one making his way past another, and Alpha Kevin just sitting behind, just waiting for his opportunity. But all of the drivers, barring Max van der Geest in that DRS, well, apart from Simba Rocks as well, who came into the pits. Max van der Geest, he will be able to find his way back into the DRS by the main straight. But he's not making the progress that I'm sure he would have wanted to make, because he currently sits in P16, a second off Jordan DHL, who's a second off of the field. So he's not got the pace that he would have expected to. And as we head on to lap 3 of this Grand Prix, he's looking as though he's going to flounder at the bottom of this field. It is his championship crowning race. and he will want to crown it off with a good performance. But at the moment, he's not got such a thing. George Ansel retakes the lead of the race ahead of Lifebouts. It's side by side between Alpha Kevin and AGK. That is AGK to the inside, holding onto the position. P5 will stay for the TF10 man, for the RB man, for the V-card man, if that is your preference on what you're going to call it. And he will stay in P5 for now. The swaps, once again, the two Ferraris, as Yasasaki, really late braking into turn number 4. He holds on to that P13 for now. But George Ansel, I mean, he's going to hold on to this P1 for quite a while, I think.
Yeah, I do believe so, but he'll probably be switching back and forth between Lifeboat in that meantime, because these two are the top end of the field at the moment. It'll be very difficult for Lawrence to get or anyone behind Lawrence to get involved. So maybe the Williams will try and back up the McLaren into one another to help get into a Williams 1-2 and play a bit of strategy here. Well, it's surprising though, Max van der Geest pace. I wonder if he has any sort of damage, because he's now dropped down to 2 seconds back. Is he playing possum here, potentially? We'll have to wait and see, but it's only a matter of time before he loses out. Lifeboat, side by side with George Ansel. He had a bit of a side by side action with Lawrence, who backed out quickly, and George Ansel maintains the lead temporarily. But can the McLaren come back at him? He's gone down towards turn 4. Does he make any sort of move? No, he doesn't. Meanwhile, Alpha Kevin and AGK side by side through turn 4. Can the Mercedes work his way, defend his way through P4? Yes, he does. And AGK just has to sit behind for that little bit longer. And unfortunately for him, he's just almost pushing the Mercedes through that corner. He's so close to him, but there's nothing he can do. Kevin's gets the first 3-second time penalty of the race. Max van der Geest's pace, though, absolutely nowhere in comparison to these top runners.
Maybe he just legitimately did not have the pace around this circuit, and that's why he's sitting in P16. Jordan DHL comes into the pits as well, so he won't have that DRS off of the Haas man. Pretty early, actually, for Jordan DHL to come into the pits, but whatever. I mean, if that's what his strategy indicates, or maybe he got some damage. But it's not the first, it is the first, it's not the last penalty that somebody's going to get, as there is Sens down the inside. The two Williams are side by side, with Lifebout getting his way into the lead, and both the Kick Saubers as well, swapping. Kevin Zanotsku are side by side. Lawrence and George Ansel are side by side, and Lawrence holds on to that one. George Ansel gets the exit, and they will remain side by side, but Lawrence ends that one on top. The battle between the Kick Saubers has just finished as well, with Kevin's the first driver, and as I was saying, not going to be the last driver with a 3-second time penalty this evening. A 3-second time penalty could decide this race, and so those at the top, you'd think, are going to try and avoid that as much as they can.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, you've got to think these guys do not want to lose any 100th of a second being cautious. We saw the Mercedes of Kevin go wide, and unfortunately for him, that probably is a warning there. But these drivers do not want to lose 100th of a 10th being cautious, so they're going to continue to push on. Finlay being the next victim of the 3-second time penalty. Lawrence now going by on the McLaren. So will George Ansel, who's side by side, continues to be side by side. And in turn 3, there's been a contact. And the McLaren and Williams, who started the race on the front row, are now round and down, well out the points. That is completely turned the race on its head. George Ansel has retired from the session on track, and that is game over for the first for the Williams, who sat on pole and now hands the race lead over to Lawrence, who has Alpha Kevin, AGK Racing, and Kevin's all behind them. And this has completely changed the complexion of the race as we continue on the green flag running. It's completely thrown my prediction out the window, because those two, I was thinking, could battle all race long for it. Well, one of them's out and the other one's down in P13.
Yeah, and I mean, it's those two that were the quickest so far in this race, with just 7 laps in. But they did seem to be the quickest, and now new competitors rise to the fore. Alpha Kevin takes the lead of the race in his Mercedes. AGK trying to hold on to the outside line on Lawrence. I'm sure he's going to try and switch back move here, but Lawrence just blocking that off on the exit. So yeah, new competitors will rise to the fore. Alpha Kevin taking the lead for the first time in this one, with Lawrence and AGK sitting second and third. Lifebout still has the opportunity to fight back, but George Ansel falls foul of the Ollie Hornaby effect. He has retired from the race on track, so I'm sure the stewards will have something to say about that one of the quickest drivers of this weekend, has dropped behind one of the quickest drivers of this season as Lifebout gets passed by Max van der Geest, but 13th and 14th is not where either of those drivers will want to be. They'll want to be in that 10-car DRS train right up the very top. And, well, at the moment, if they continue to fight these top drivers, then it could allow the Ferraris, Max van der Geest and Lifebout back into it. Lap 8 now of this Grand Prix. And we've still got many drivers, to be fair, even if it's not the ones that we thought, in contention for the top few spots.
Yeah, the top 10 are still very much close. They're all within DRS of one another. The two Ferraris drop back in their own little group. The Saubers going side by side. It's Oxku, Kevins, and Oxku looks to make the move on his teammate. He does so, but in the course and effect of that, XPG Flame has made his way by not just one, but two Saubers. Excellent job from the Aston Martin. He's made his way through and taken advantage of the green cars fighting each other, and that has moved him up to P4. Meanwhile, Alpha Kevin leads the way ahead of Lawrence. AGK Racing remains in P3, but what is not to be expected is the championship leader and now championship leader crowned, Max van der Geest in P14. Lifeboat, last time's out race winner, down in P13 due to incident. That is not a grid you would have been thinking of seeing heading into this race, let alone 9 laps in to a 36-lap Austrian Grand Prix.
Yeah, and we've got a very, very long way to go with all of these drivers looking still to fight for this one. You'd think that it's going to calm down. You would be wrong, as Alpha Kevins and Lawrence swap for the lead once again. Lawrence still holding onto that inside line. And there goes AGK to the inside as well. It's going to be side by side between the two blue cars as they head to turn number 4. And Lawrence comes out on top in that one. AGK, though, trying to get his elbows up, trying to force his way up the field because P2 has been, with all these DRS trains that we've had towards the end of this season, has been the ideal spot to sit in. And AGK currently sitting there. He'll want to hold on to that for as long as he can. Lap 9 of this Grand Prix, though. So he's got a long way to go. It will be lap 10. We will be reaching double figures as Lawrence will cross the line. The leader picks up a 3-second time penalty. We just cut on board with him as he picked it up there. And that could change the complexion of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. But something that also changes the complexion of this race, I don't know if you caught it, Cotcast, was that as they were going into turn 3 on the previous lap, Lawrence went into the back of Alpha Kevins. Now AGK and Lawrence going to go side by side with Alpha Kevin trying to make a move as well. XPG Flame joining the battle, but Lawrence has picked up a bit of front wing damage, so that could be a bit of a cause on why he got that final warning and now has that penalty. But this has completely changed Lawrence's race now because he is on the back foot in terms of car performance. AGK leads the way into an excellent job to get by both Alpha Kevin and Lawrence. XPG Flame trying to make moves by the Williams and the Mercedes on the back of the Williams, but that 3-second time penalty so early on in this race is going to be absolutely costly. And again, that's going to be another warning there for Lawrence because he just got over the white line once more. So this could be the Williams starting to drop down the field, having to be a little bit more cautious due to that front wing.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be difficult for him to fight back if no one else picks up penalties, but he'll just, I'd imagine he'll keep on fighting as if nobody has penalties in the first place. That's just the way things go here on the console side, at least, of WOR. Yellow flags out for Chris RBL. I think that is who's dropping down the field after a rear loss in turn number 3. Don't know whether there was contact there or not because we weren't watching on board with him. We were watching on board with Kevins, who's in this top 6 battle, you'd say. I know Minotaur and Gio and Finley are all in that DRS as well. But you'd think that it's the top 6 who are more likely to be in contention for this lead. AGK continuing to lead this one. And Lawrence, he's just going to sit behind now. I mentioned it earlier. He will want to hold on to that P2 for as long as he can until he can burst past with the DRS right at the end. Pit strategies will come into it at some point very soon as Finley picks up another 3-second. Track limits have been a struggle for a few of these drivers. Finley being one, Lawrence being another. who I'm sure is on 4 warnings so far, at least. But yeah, track limits will play into it at the end of those races, so will the pit strategies, but it's not time to talk about that. It's time to talk about Lawrence making a switch for the lead of the race down the inside of turn number 3, and the Williams, once again, is going to lead this one.
Yeah, it was very, very late under brakes there, having to lock his front wheels just to get it stopped for the corner, but he certainly did, and done it cleanly. The Williams leading the way with that damage. He might have gotten used to having that little bit more understeer now, as he actually has a little bit of oversteer and a traction loss on exit. However, he manages to keep the lead. However, through these long corners, his car performance and his performance itself will be affected quite severely, as you see AGK just pushing the Williams around the corner, the Mercedes. Also behind him, looking to try and make a move, but at this moment in time, there isn't anything the Mercedes can do. AGK getting the run on exit. Could he try and make a move down towards turn 1? I don't think he will. He'll just try and manage it for now to try and make the move into turn 3, a much safer spot to make a move, with Lawrence making another slight traction loss error. Is now going to be AGK's time to retake that lead, but it's not. It's going to be very close here as we go 3 wide for P2 as AGK gets away ahead, but it's going to be Alpha Kevin, Lawrence and Flame going 3 wide, and XBG Flame has not just made 1 but 2 positions in that process, but Lawrence is fighting back into turn 4. Can the Aston Martin make the move? Can the Williams defend? The Williams will have the outside line, will have a little bit of traction help from having the wider line, but he's not able to do anything there. And XBG Flame, who has done an excellent job so far in making up positions, has moved to P2.
He has indeed, and what a start to the race he's had. What a first third to the race he has had. He's moved up 9 positions. He was in P11 at the start of this one, and he moves up to 2nd place. The Aston Martin now looking for the crown, the P1. As it now filters out to a top 7 battle. Finley comes into the pits. Not 100% sure why. I think he might be retiring. Indeed, he is from this session. We saw a lot of this yesterday, a concerning amount of this yesterday. But after all that, Finley has retired. Flame looking for a move to the lead. It's almost 3 wide as Lawrence pulls alongside. Kevin's had a look around the outside, but he decided not to go for it. And now he could be having another look at Flame as he heads down to turn number 4 around the outside. No, down the inside though goes Otsku on Kevin's, not being able to pull off that move. And the top 7 will remain the top 7, and they will remain in formation for the time being.
Yeah, the top 7 are all so closely matched. They've pulled away from that group behind them now of the Ferraris, Chris RBL and Max van der Geest and Lifeboat involved in that session. That Max van der Geest up to P10 finally, but his pace has not been there for this race, and they've lost a massive amounts of time in comparison to that top group. But they're going to all continue charging on. There's still points available. As the Red Bull of Minotaur has tried to make a move on Kevin for P6 into turn 1, but angle was just too tight there for the Red Bull. He has to continue in P7. Meanwhile, Lawrence fighting XPG Flame. However, the attack will have to turn to a defence, as here comes Kevin's going in the Sauber. He's going to have the DRS as well, both of them using their DRS. The outside line for the Sauber. Can he make the move stick? He goes around the outside, later on the brakes. But it's going to be a bit of contact there. The Williams squeezes Kevin's as wide as he possibly can and defends the position very nicely. However, penalties for both men, and they're going to be trying to kind of catch and overtake Flame and AGK. Otherwise, those two will pull away, and penalty regardless or track position, they will lose out whatever way they look at it. And Oxco is hunting both of them down after Kevin behind them, as well as more Minotaur. These 7 drivers so close, and it is just not even halfway through this race. This is going to go on for another 20 laps yet.
Yeah, you would imagine it would, and we're almost halfway through this race, but we are not yet. And we could be seeing another switch for the lead of the race. Flame to the inside of AGK, and he has taken that one, squeezing AGK out on the exit. But a wobble on the exit of turn 3 will allow AGK back in, and it will allow him alongside. The traction, though, goes the way of Flame in the end, who retakes that lead. Otsuku to the inside of Kevin's, but he will back out of that one. It's just those moves that are being attempted, not necessarily made, but attempted, that just make this so much closer, that just make it so much more tense, because at any point you feel as though if one move doesn't pull off, if Otsuku doesn't back out on Kevin's into turn 4 as much as he has in the last few laps, it could go so very wrong for the kick Sauber. If Flame sends it to the inside a little bit too much in turn number 3, that could be the end for the Aston Martin and the RB. And Lawrence, he could get caught up in an incident as well. So it's just so very close. Minotaur looking for a move into turn 1, or maybe not, just looking to force a mistake out of Kevin. I think that's the way that you should be going at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment, you just want to force those errors for the drivers in front, because you need to put them under pressure here. Lawrence trying to make a move on AGK, trying to do a dive bomb to some extent, but also Kevin's. Oh, that's a massive amount of oversteer there. I believe there might have been a bit of contact as well. That has allowed the Sauber of Kevin's through. Lawrence, unfortunately for him, drops down to P4, potentially P5, as never mind. Otsuku and Alpha Kevin are going to be the ones going side by side, but Otsuku manages to defend P5. Lawrence drops down to P4. That damage might be affecting him more so, as he's putting more stress on the tyres, and therefore the has to give heating the tyres up, and that could put him under more pressure as the stint goes on. Will he change that front wing is the question. Yes, he'll drop out of that group, but it will give him that extra bit of performance. I doubt he will, because he is keeping pace at this stage. He needs to stay within DRS of this group though. Otherwise, it could be a difficult day once he's lost it. AGK now trying to make a move on Flame down towards turn 3. Does the RB retake the lead once more? It's going to be a 3-wide moment between Lawrence, Kevin's and Flame. Going to go side by side. XPG Flame managed to get out of that one cleanly. However, Lawrence and Kevin's still side by side. Could it be P3 once more for the Williams as we go down towards turn 4? And yes, he does. He manages to get that one back. XPG Flame very lucky to keep P2 after being in the middle of both them drivers. AGK retaking the lead though on lap 18.
Yeah, I mean, it's what's going to happen is they're just going to keep swapping. They're going to keep swapping, and absolutely fair play to them. I mean, just swapping the DRS is going to make a lot of sense. That is somebody coming into the pits, and that somebody is Otsuku. He's going to come in. So is Alpha Kevin, and TF10 Kevin's actually picks up a 3-second time penalty. Is the second car in this top fight to pick up 3 seconds, and now he needs to fight back. The first one, of course, was Lawrence, who sits in P3 at the moment, with the top 2 penaltyless, and AGK and Flame looking to continue. Lifehouse and Max van der Geest extending this stint as well. As that is, who is that going around? That is Kevin's with a massive rear loss heading into turn number 3, and the kick Sauber. Well, he's just ruined his own race. I mean, he's got 3 seconds on the end of the final lap, and now he's lost that DRS to the top 4 ahead of him.
Yeah, absolutely unfortunate for Kevin's. He's maybe pushing even more now, because he actually has 6 seconds worth of pens. He also had the penalty before that. So this could be the race unraveling for the Sauber driver. However, Lawrence is Lawrence is sticking with these top 2 who are now looking to pit as well. Will Minotaur pit and Lawrence, I say, all 4 drivers pit. So Otsuku, Alpha Kevin looking to try and get a 1-lap undercut. This could be beneficial as Minotaur goes into the back of Lawrence on the pit entry. They're very lucky not to get 10-second time penalties there, but the Williams continue to get away with that. Lifebout will retake the lead. Chris RBL will be in P2. Yasisaki will be in P3. And this will leave AGK to come out ahead of them. Chris RBL gets by the McLaren into turn 3. However, this is not a battle for the lead. This is only temporarily while the pit stop skyhook is occurring. Otsuku has taken the provisional lead away from Alpha Kevin and AGK and XPG, as the undercut has certainly come into effect. The former tier 3 driver is in a very good position right now, as the tier 2 reserve is looking to claim, I believe, his first win of the season, if I'm not mistaken. But the Sauber has got that lap older mediums, which while at the moment won't be affecting him, may affect him a little bit later on.
Yeah, I mean, Chris RBL has raced all but one race this season, being the race around the Canadian Grand Prix. And, well, at the moment, he's currently on for what would be his second podium position, but obviously he needs to come into the pits. Otsku, Alpha Kevin, AGK, Flame, all of them bearing down as Lifebout retakes the lead of this one. And the battle now is between Otsku all the way down to Minotaur in terms of the race victor. Alpha Kevin gets past Otsku into the lead of this one. AGK looks to get through as well. Indeed, he does, as Otsku just has a wobble that means that AGK can seal that position. And the RB just holding on to that one by the skin of his teeth. Jordan DHL, by the way, retires in the pit lane. That is going to be another retirement for this race. The third retirement in this one. A disappointing one. It could be said. By the way, XPG Flame, this is his second race of the season in Tier 2. His first one, he didn't finish. That was last time out in Canada. He's here now in Austria looking for his first victory. And, I mean, he's not looking as though it's not looking impossible. Alpha Kevin gained 2 seconds on Yasasaki on the last lap. So this battle, currently put for P4, you know it's for P1, and it will be very, very soon.
Yeah, XPG Flame doing an excellent job so far, as now ATK and Alpha Kevin going to go side by side. Oxku dropping down to P3 in the last couple laps, and AGK up to what will be provisional P1 once he's top 3 pit, unless there's some sort of safety car. However, I doubt that will affect too much of what the order is right now. XPG Flame trying to look away by on the Sauber. Can the Aston Martin get his way by as another driver retires in the pit lane? That is Sim Barracks. He is out of the race. We're down to 13, but it could but there's still a lot of racing and action to go, especially in this top group so far. And now AGK has pulled a 4/10 gap, but that's not going to be anywhere near enough to get any sort of defense out of from behind of Alpha Kevin and Oxco. These drivers are going to push each other to the absolute end now. All on the same strategy, just maybe a lap difference in terms of tyre wear. As AGK looks to try and defend one more time against the Mercedes. He manages to stay ahead heading into turn 3, but into turn 4, it could be game, set, match for the Mercedes.
It could be. And AGK just holding on to it. It looks as though into turn number 4. Lawrence, though, looking to change positions for P7, sending it down the inside of Flame. Contact, though, as he tried to squeeze Flame out, means that Lawrence will have to sit behind in P8. We're on lap 23 of 36. We've got 13 laps left. Yasasaki, Lifebout, and Chris surely have to come in at some point soon. And AGK looking in a very good position at the moment. He's only 2.3 seconds behind Yasasaki, though. So this could play into it. The top 3 could fight away as hard as they can and as hard as they want to with the likes of AGK, who are bearing down on them 1.9 seconds. I reckon they might get DRS as early as after turn number 3 on Yasasaki, Lifebound and Chris swapping. There's a further 5 seconds up the field. So at the moment, their only focus is Yasasaki or each other, as Alpha Kevin takes P4. And my prediction was almost right, as they are 1.1 seconds behind now at the detection point. But they will definitely get it down the main straight. But can the Ferrari provide a thorn in Alpha Kevin's side, or somebody's side, that means that someone else comes through and becomes the new favourite?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to fight him too for now. I think the biggest benefit for him right now is just to defend, because if you defend, you're going to waste these drivers' time. If there's any sort of late race safety car, you're going to be able to pit and then come out closer to them, and also it'll just make your life a little bit easier. As actually, there's Oxco, or is that Kevin's? Oxco is. What's happened to him? I think he's had some sort of collision with someone, because he's now down. He's around well halfway between a couple of corners, so he's down a straight. So I'm not exactly sure what happened with him. AGK and Alpha Kevin have moved ahead of Yasisaki as Lifeboat and Chris RBL pit, so the battle for the race lead returns to the battle as the actual battle for the race lead. Meanwhile, we're going to have 3, maybe 4 wide into turn 3 as Yasisaki creates a dive bomb for the race lead. However, that pushed, I believe, Alpha Kevin off wide. That gives XPG the race lead as the Ferrari is making absolute nuisance of himself as Lawrence, now trying to make a move on Alpha Kevin, does so back up into the podium places, goes to Williams, but he's going to be all over the back of the Ferrari, who has let XPG Flame have a chance to get away. And now the Williams of Lawrence gets by, but is it too little, too late? He's over a second behind. The Williams could have lost the DRS, and this could be XBG's Flame's moment to take defining moment to take victory, go round the final corner. No DRS for the Williams. They're going to have to work together at this stage if they want to get back. And XPG does try and pull away even more. Meanwhile, Minotaur, Yasisaki going side by side. Minotaur outbreaks him, goes into P5, and that is as the battle for the race lead has turned another corner.
Yeah, and it looks as though XPG Flame, if he can hold on to it, will be winning this one. He's 8/10 ahead of Alpha Kevin at the moment. If he's able to break that 3-second gap in turns 4, 5, and 6 in sector 2, heading into sector number 3. Then I think he will be okay, but now down to 4/10 because of that DRS and because of the lack of DRS for the Aston Martin. That will squander his plans, and he will be reeled in once again. So Yasisaki not having as much of an effect on the battle for the lead. In terms of the top 6, would have you say, and XPG Flame continuing to lead this one on to lap 27. We are now into single figures for laps remaining in this Grand Prix. It's been a very exciting Grand Prix, and you'd think that not all of the action has occurred. We could have more action as early as the next corner as AGK looks momentarily to the outside of Lawrence, sitting back in, but on the exits he will try to attack. That is if Lawrence doesn't get an absolute launch out of turn number 1, which indeed he does. And as they head up the hill now, Alpha Kevin retakes the lead. Lawrence has actually decided to sit behind Flame for that P2, P3 spot. So they just sit there. Otsku dropping behind his teammate. Kevin's with another 3-second time penalty. Otsku's teammate, you'd think that he's going to let him through now as they're 1.7 seconds behind Yasisaki in the fight for P6. So it could be that 8 points will go home to one of the Kick Sauber drivers. Don't know which one it's going to be, but Otsku being the reserve, he will not take that priority there. But at the end of the day, I mean, a decent performance from them, disappointing from Otsku, just to have been involved in some sort of incident which meant that he now dropped down. But, I mean, he's only got 4 seconds to the top. If they start fighting in the next few laps, then anything could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything can happen in league racing, and racing in general. Anything can occur that could boost it back into a winning predicament. This is why I don't like people retiring from races so early on. You just don't know what's going to happen. You just got to keep pushing if you possibly can. But Alpha Kevin leads the way and continues to lead the way. Oxku looks to get by Yasisaki, and he does so into turn 3. He'll be trying to keep ahead of the Ferrari now and try not minimise the nuisance that is the Scuderia at this time. However, he is not able to do much here. The Ferrari trying to go around the outside of the Sauber, and unfortunately for the Oxco, he just has to sit behind one more time. The Ferrari on 28 lap old hard tyres, and that is ridiculous. However, they're getting to the point now, they're pushing the Ferrari, whose old tyres are just degrading that much more, and he cannot get by the of Yasisaki, who's got a penalty as well. There's been contact there as well. Kevin's, Oxco, both losing more positions. I believe Oxco was caught up in, they both collided there, and that has dropped them both out of the points. Meanwhile, back to the race lead. Alpha Kevin looks to defend from XPG. XPG though, to the inside. Can he make the move stick? It is all kicking off as they go into turn 3. He manages to get the exit. They manage to stay side by side. But for how much longer? Because here comes Lawrence. He's going to try and make it almost 3 wide as XPG breaks late, makes the move sick. Lawrence collides with Alpha Kevin. He pushes him slightly wide. Here, there, and everywhere as we go into the end of Sector 2, this long left-hander where we've seen Lawrence with that damage struggle the most, but he manages to make the move on the Mercedes. 4P2, 5 drivers, 5 different teams fighting it out for this race victory. One of them, though, has that penalty, and that is the Williams of 88 Lawrence.
Yeah, that could provide a little bit of a benefit in the end for Flame if Lawrence is able to hold on to this P2 on track. To the inside looks AGK, just backs out. This top 5 group, they've stuck together for so long, and it looks as though they're going to continue to stick together. Kevin's retires from the session as Lawrence could be making a move for the lead of this race. Indeed, he does. And he sends it down the inside of Flame, but Flame coming back at him and could be retaking the lead. The exit, though, speed goes to Lawrence, who actually tucks back in. He's starting to play the DRS games. We've seen so many times this contact with Alpha Kevin, just a passenger in that incident as AGK tried to stay on the track. There goes AGK as he picks up 3 seconds, drops to the back of this pack, might have even dropped out of the DRS. So a couple of corners of chaos for the V-Carb, and now he drops down to P5, and now he has a 3-second penalty. So it's a Flame, Alpha Kevin, and more Minotaur who are looking the favourites for this one.
Yeah, Minotaur has kind of been the quietest of the group, really, because that Red Bull has kind of just been sat there in the back group, end of the group. However, with penalties arising for the other drivers, this could still be his. Kevin, Flame still fighting their hearts out for this race lead. Meanwhile, Minotaur has been absolutely, well, basically been the most silent of the lot. Meanwhile now, Lawrence going to try and make a move on Flame as we go down towards turn 3. Can the Aston Martin defend one more time? No, he cannot. He tries to get the cutback, but cutback denied because the Mercedes comes back and tries to make a move for P2 now over the Aston Martin. However, just has to drop back as the slipstream effect from the Williams favours the Aston Martin. We go round turn 4. And it remains like line as stern as it was down that straight. However, it's going to get close. Alpha Kevin tries to defend. Minotaur now trying to make some moves. However, he is running out of laps if he wants to get to that race lead. Lawrence, though, leads the way. With that penalty, though, he will need to get another 2.5 second gap. But he may run out of laps by the end of this one.
I think he might run out of laps. I think we might have many of these drivers run out of laps to do what they want to do. Heading into turn number 1, Minotaur, he's starting to race into this one. He's squeezed to the inside, though, of Alpha Kevin. Don't put Minotaur off racing, because he could just sit in P5 for the rest of this one. We've seen it so many times where he's just been maybe a little bit too patient, and maybe he's just run out of laps as AGK sends it to the inside line. He gets past Minotaur. He might even get past Alpha Kevin, but he does not. He tucks back in, sitting behind Alpha Kevin. Now, the top 5 pack still sitting there. Minotaur right back to the back of the field, looking to the inside line, trying to force a mistake from AGK. It is not successful on this lap, but with 4 laps to go, you'd think that the mistakes will start now with Minotaur just trying to pressure AGK, who's made a couple of mistakes in this race. It's impressive, to be fair, and it's a testament of his pace that he's still up in this top 5 battle. But Minotaur, he will want to get past as soon as he can, because he will still see a podium on the horizon.
Yeah, he'll absolutely see this podium on the horizon with two of the 5 drivers having penalties. He will just need to stick with it and not try and not get a 3 second himself, which is the crucial thing. A 3 second at this stage for any of these drivers could be the difference between P1 and P5. Here comes Alpha Kevin as he tries to make a move on XPG Flame. Meanwhile, XPG Flame has made the move on the Williams as we go down towards turn 3. Bit of contact there from the back of the Mercedes. So now the Mercedes trying to make a move on the Williams, who has not got DRS, which is the crucial thing, as XPG Flame was behind at the DRS detection. And now the race leader becomes the Aston Martin once more. However, it is really, really tight. And every single lap it is changing. We go round turn 6, where the Williams, again, struggling a little bit of the understeer. You can notice it in the car's body language. As we go down towards turn 9, can the Williams find a way to get back by the Aston Martin, or will he have to defend even harder against the Mercedes of Alpha Kevin? We're going to go on to lap 34. We've got 3 laps to go in this. It is going to continue to get more and more exciting. Meanwhile, Lifeboat, Chris RBL, Max van der Geest slowly but surely getting in on this action because they are closing in with these guys fighting. Here comes Lawrence. He's going to make a move down for turn 3. Can he make the move stick? No, he goes, unfortunately, has to wait until the exit of the corner as XPG Flame keeps his nose in. He manages to keep side by side. However, neither driver has DRS because they cross the DRS section at the same time. Here comes Kevin around the outside for P2. Can Mercedes get his way back through on XPG Flame once more down the inside? Yes, he does. Excellent job from the Mercedes. Picked his opportunity and took it.
Yeah, he's taken that opportunity. And, well, I mean, there will be more. There will be more opportunities. 2 laps left to go in this race. The chat, all behind Flame. I'll take that as everybody being behind Flame. As we head now on to lap 35 of 36. Lawrence continuing to lead, but I don't know if you noticed, with 6 now seconds worth of penalties. Flame looks to the inside of Alpha Kevin again, trying to force a mistake. Unable to force one, and he just has to sit behind once again. But now as they head up the hill to turn number 3, is he able to force an opportunity on Alpha Kevin? No, he is not. He's going to try, though, to send it down the inside, but once again trying to force a mistake. And he's forced a mistake out of himself. XPG Flame drops now from that battle for the lead all the way down to P10, and his fans will be they will be absolutely furious. By the way, Max van der Geest, hello sir, you're in the battle for the lead. You're in the DRS strain at the top on lap 35 of 36. He's trying to go around the outside of his teammate AGK Racing Yasasaki, picking up a 3-second time penalty. But there we go. Max van der Geest past AGK. AGK's got off the circuit. Chris RBL, something's happened to him, and he drops behind. Lifeboat is back in this one as well. It is not at its end as we head on to the final lap of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, final lap. It's getting intense here, as I believe there was a bit of contact between Minotaur and XPG Flame, so there could be some reviews in the stewards room later on today. And at the moment, no, it is a battle between Lawrence, Kevin, Minotaur on track, Lifeboat just behind, and 10 seconds for XPG for speeding the pit lane. He's done. That is pure frustration for the Aston Martin, who did so well to come through the field early on in the race and manage the race lead so well. Meanwhile, Kevin gonna fight Lawrence, try and get the lead. He doesn't care that his a driver in front has a penalty. He wants to win on track. He takes the lead once more. How is that the nail in the coffin for the Mercedes driver? He's gonna go through sector 2 now. He just needs to nail these last couple of corners going round through sector 2 into sector 3. His tyres are aging, they're degrading, but compared to the rest, he certainly has the grit. And now down towards a couple of corners, Mercedes just has to hold on that little bit more. No more mistakes from him. Round that final corner, up towards the line. Minotaur goes off track, trying to get as much of the run as possible. But Kevin comes across the line, takes victory in Austria, Tier 2. Excellent job from the Mercedes. Minotaur moves up to P2 on Pence. And after all that, Max van der Geest has taken a podium place by the end of the race. I got something right at least. I wouldn't be surprised if he was going to be on the podium. But the RB, after a very, very silent race from him, takes the podium. AGK P4, Lawrence P5, Lifeboat P6, Chris RBL will come home P7, FRT typical P8, Oxco P9, Niall P10, and Yasasaki will come home pointless with 6 drivers not finishing the race.
Yeah, the only pointless driver being Yasasaki in the end, who had a very interesting strategy going on. But lap 36 of this race has finished, and Alpha Kevin has taken his first victory of the season. Minotaur, I reckon he could have been in for a race victory, what would have been his first of the season. Instead, he takes his first podium of the season in P2 after just a very, very careful drive. Max van der Geest fighting his way through it all into P3. And again, that is a champion's drive from the V-Carb, I would argue, because he's just irrelevant. But he was irrelevant this whole race, but he's just managed to fight through, take that P3 when it counted, and just the consistent pace that he was able to hold meant that he was now able to hold that P3 from 17th and last on the grid. I think he'll be happy with that. And with one round of the season to go, he has, he sealed the championship. He sealed it last time out, but we didn't know that until we saw the attendance ping that said Manlike was not around. So very, very disappointing if you are Manlike to lose that championship lead, or to lose that opportunity to win the championship. But congratulations to Max van der Gies, a champion with a champion's drive here tonight, taking P3. Then it's AGK, Lawrence, Lifebout, Chris RBL, Typical, Otsku, and the Nagio rounding out the points. But that is the end of the action for this evening. So make sure to join us next week for the season finales in all of the tiers, barring World on Tuesday. We've got Monday. The PC tiers will finalise their results for the season. Thursday will be the final console tier 4, 5, 3, 4, 6 and 7. And then 1 and 2 on the console side will round out their season next Friday. So make sure to join us for that. Any final thoughts, Callisto?
Yeah, champion's drive from our champion. Excellent job. He was quiet all race, but he didn't put a foot wrong in terms of penalties. Excellent job from him. Congratulations to Kevin on that victory. An excellent job from him. Unlucky though from XPG Flame. He just got caught unlucky, and I think he just got turned around. But I do believe that there will be some results changes come the end by next week. So be sure to tune in then.
Yes, be sure to tune in then. But until next time, it is goodbye.